During these depressive times of quarantine, instead of spending my time working out, learning a new skill, or even just making new videos, I instead opted to spend my time in a more useful way. That's right, I am now a true gamer. I never really beat a From Software game before. The closest I got in Dark Souls 1 was Tomb of Giants before I just said, no, I ain't doing this, no. But this time, I actually tried, and bam, all 3 completed within a week. Easy. Imminent fire. This is just one of those like troll messages, I bet. Well, that was fair. When it comes to picking my favorite, it's a bit of a tough choice between 1 and 3. At least it's the easiest choice in the world, picking the worst one. But at the end of the day, I have to go with Dark Souls 1 as my favorite. Demon Souls may have started the Soulsborne Shadows Die Twice genre, but Dark Souls was without question what woke people up to Miyazaki's genius. So, what makes Dark Souls 1 so genius? Grab an Estus flask and sit down at the bonfire as I tell you the tale of Dark Souls. When I think of the best aspect of Dark Souls, I don't think about the hard gameplay.
You're fucking trash! You're a trash building camper!
I don't think about the lore. I can't read all of this! I don't even think about the characters. Instead, the single thing that puts Dark Souls 1 above the others is world design. Okay, maybe that sounds a bit biased. What I meant to say was, Firelink Shrine is the most genius hub world in all of gaming, and all other hub worlds are just trash, they're garbage. While Dark Souls 2's Majula has some amazing atmosphere, and Dark Souls 3's is extremely convenient, Dark Souls 1 focuses on interconnectivity. Now, there are a few locations that can't be directly reached via Firelink, but you eventually get the ability to warp between bonfires by then, so this isn't really a big deal. And of course, this warping would go on to ruin the map design in the sequels, but I digress. Firelink Shrine is a genius hub world. Instead of being forced to go a certain way, they let you go nuts and choose your own path. Though the game does do a brilliant job in nudging you onto the correct path.
You know guys, for some reason, I think this is the wrong way. I mean, I don't know, I just got a hunch, I guess.
Let's pretend I'm a new player for a moment who just beat Asylum Demon. And boom. Here I am. Now there are a few ways to go. Of course, it's kind of obvious you go to the way of Undead Burg, but let's pretend I'm a bit more daring and I want to check out more places. Exploring early on can lead you to a lot of different areas. A new player might head down to the New Londo Ruins, which from its design alone, might be enough for most players with more than 2 brain cells to think, okay, this area is too scary for me. I think I'm gonna go play Spy Fox or something. And further exploration of this area will find you fighting enemies you can't even hit. So it's a safe bet you'll figure out on your own that this is the wrong way to go. But if you started as a thief, or with the master key item, you can open a door to gain quick access to the Valley of Drakes and Blighttown, which is extremely useful for later on if you don't want to actually go through Blighttown, which I never do because it makes me want to... Yeah, it makes me want to do that. Maybe instead, a new player might opt to head towards the crypt. This area could be misleading, as although you do 0 damage to the skeletons early on, if you're good at backstabbing, they become extremely light work. But from the sheer amount of enemies here, and oh my god, is that a giant... So by a clear process of elimination, you'll soon figure out the correct path to take first. Not only is it nice for a game to actually respect your intelligence for once, but this can lead to all sorts of cheap early tricks to gain good items quickly if you're brave enough to face these tougher areas. Eventually, once you reach the big beautiful man that is Andre, you can activate an elevator that gives you quick access to Andre himself, the Undead Parish, Serpent Fortress, and the Darkroot Garden. You get a real sense of progression when these shortcuts are opened up as you move further into the game, given the sense that the world progresses alongside you. The map's not even that big, but it feels huge thanks to this design choice. I haven't even talked about Firelink from a visual standpoint. On first contact, you're immediately sucked into the rich atmosphere this iconic bonfire offers you, and that theme. That theme. It really adds to the bittersweet feeling you get while playing Dark Souls. This comment I found puts it best, I feel.
Upon first arriving in Firelink Shrine,
and listening to this music for the first time, you already kind of know that nothing you're going to do is going to be great or heroic. But at the same time, this music can make you feel at peace. This is your only safe area in the entire game, which is fitting as it's the only area in the game with overworld music outside of the amazing boss themes. This lack of overworld music only adds to the game's rich atmosphere. The world of Dark Souls is, well, dark, bleak, and depressing. There are very little sources of amusement, so it's only fitting that this depressing world is void of any overworld music that could help the player feel comforted. The only thing you hear instead is the howl of the wind, dripping sewers, and, of course, the sounds of your enemies. Saving music for the boss themes makes every boss feel like this grand, epic enemy you have to take down, no matter their size. Not many games manage to match a rich, immersive atmosphere with impeccable design choices. Isn't that right, Dark Souls 2? You have Majula though, so I'll give you that one. The world design is easily the best thing Dark Souls 1 brings to the table. Though people will think of its hard difficulty first, I think of how much of a god Miyazaki is to design such a beautiful world. But that's not to say the hard difficulty is a bad thing. Now of course, while there's a lot more to Dark Souls than just being the poster boy of rage,
It's not there! It's not there! He's not there!
the difficulty is obviously one of the strengths of the game. In a modern world of games treating you like you're a dribbling moron, Dark Souls throws all that nonsense out the window and says, nope, this is a real man's video game. There is very little direction in where you go. All you know for sure is that you have to go and reignite the Age of Fire. Or don't, I mean, it's up to you, dude. It's your life. I mean, the difficulty greatly differs in the trilogy, though personally for me, I'd say Dark Souls 1 was the easiest. Though I did kind of abuse poise. Dark Souls 1 is still hard, but it never feels too unfair, which is why I use the phrase challenging gameplay. One of the biggest reasons for this is the Estus Flask. You need to pick your moments to heal, as the process of drinking is slow but fair. For some reason in Dark Souls 2, they decided, nah, that was way too fast. Time to make it a million times slower. Oh, and there's also a stat that correlates to how fast you can even drink it and how good your rolls are. Good design, boys! Dark Souls Freeze is easy to heal with, but they buff the enemy aggression to match. Dark Souls 1 is truly the best the Estus has ever been. It's not as slow and stat dependent as 2, and it's certainly no walk in the park to get off heals like in 3. It's pretty balanced, and being able to kindle bonfires to get as many as you want is pretty handy. Of course, this wouldn't matter unless the combat itself wasn't super satisfying, which it is. Struggle against a boss at first, only to learn their attacks and get their moveset down to a T, is nothing short of orgasmic. It feels so rewarding to take down these enemies you've struggled for hours on. Some bosses can leave wide windows while others give you maybe like 1 second to breathe. It makes for a game where you can't just go blindly swinging like you're riding on steroids. Stop, use your brain, and capitalize on those openings. Just don't get greedy. You'll always die if you get greedy. Another great thing is that the game just does not respect you, which makes me sound like a masochist, but you don't have to respect the game back. It doesn't force you to fight these bosses fairly. You can use underhanded tactics or cheese them to your heart's content. You might not get respect for it, but I mean, who cares, dude? You want to beat the boss, don't you? Twin gargoyles can be one of the first walls you come across early in the game, seeing as it's a 2-on-1. That is, unless you summon Trusty Solaire to fight by your side to help even the playing field. Or how about Capra Demon? This boss is just bad. You're fighting like a million enemies and the strongest guy ever in the tiniest room designed for Stuart Little or some little piece of shit. It's doable, but I can easily see why people would not want to do this fairly. So just throw some dung pie over and hey presto, easy game. The game never makes you feel bad for these cheap tactics, and you shouldn't feel bad either. I mean, Miyazaki didn't feel bad when designing this torture. What goes around comes around. While some areas are tough, goddamn Blighttown, a majority are pretty easy to get through. The main difficulty stays in the bosses, which are all excellently designed. Their challenge will vary from player to player. A boss you may struggle with and die to a lot, someone else could do on a first try. Now, that's not to say every boss is perfect. Like, who thought this was a good idea? Or this? Or having 3 bosses that are exactly the same? And then they brought it back for Dark Souls 3. But for the most part, a majority of bosses will give you a tough challenge that never feels too overwhelming. And these bosses are only backed up by incredible lore. I'm not the first to talk about Dark Souls' brilliant storytelling, and I certainly won't be the last. But there's a reason it's so highly regarded, as it's a very unique way of storytelling, by not telling you the story. Most of the time you're gonna find linear stories that have cutscenes or a lot of in-game dialogue to explain the events that are happening or have happened, which is obviously fine, but it certainly is not unique. Maybe you can go the Skyrim route, having access to hundreds of books which will tell you more about this world. Or maybe you make the story with Connect U-Star.
A lot of time making that drink.
It tastes good. It's a special blend.
Yeah, made it like 30 minutes ago.
Our
right,
piss.
right. Both our piss.
Both our piss. Good stuff.
The way Dark Souls tells its story is that it really doesn't. You're in a dark, old cell and get dropped a key to escape. It's up to you to find the answers of this world. The best word to describe it is intrigue. Every NPC you talk to creates a level of intrigue that will slowly tell you more about this world. You speak to the first NPC you come across, and he'll tell you more about your task, which clues you in on your mission in this world, seeing as it wasn't really too apparent to you beforehand. Some NPCs can help give context to boss fights. The best example I can think of is Artorias, who I think most people can agree has some of the best lore in the first game and From Software's catalog as a whole. You see this cutscene of what you can only call a possessed warrior, and his playstyle reflects that. At first, you may just see him as a monster, but after defeating him and meeting Hawkeye Goth, he can provide some insight into why he was like that.
Thou must be the one who freed Artorias, that old friend he was. Thanks to thee, he left this world with honor intact.
Now it's clear you killing Artorias was the right thing to do. This might intrigue you to look up his lore outside of the game, which would finally clue you in on him being fully corrupt by the Abyss and the sacrifices he made along the way. Hold back the tears. It's pretty amazing how a lot of lore simply gets figured out through cutscenes, item descriptions, NPC dialogue, and not much else. It gives the community something to work out together, almost like an intricate puzzle, except you're missing like 57 other pieces, so you just kind of draw your own ones to fill in the missing pieces. Now, some people don't care for the story, which is perfectly fine. If you want to just focus on the gameplay, nothing is stopping you. You're not required to listen to every NPC, or even watch every cutscene. It's your game, and From Software lets you do whatever you want, which is why the role-playing aspect is god tier. Sometimes more often than not, I forget the R in RPG actually stands for role-playing, as opposed to really playing game. What? But it does, and it's a shame because a lot of games don't fit the standard of what I consider truly role-playing. Which doesn't mean I'm going to be screaming, "Yaha! I will slay you, beast!" while at my computer, but it's the power to immerse yourself and to truly care about the character you're crafting. In my eyes, no games do this better than Dark Souls, which makes you wonder, why? I mean, customizing your character isn't anything new, choosing a weapon isn't a unique concept, or even leveling stats, it's all been done before. So why, when I make my Dark Souls character a beefy tank who wields a giant great club, do I actually feel like that's what my character is, compared to a game like, say, Skyrim? Going back to what we said before, it's all to do with the little information the game gives you, which also includes your character. Think about all the RPGs you've played. You're not exactly playing the role you want, you're forced into roles all the time. Persona 5, you get to choose your name and personas, sure, but at the end of the day, you're still Joker, and nothing will change that. Even Skyrim, a game that, I will admit, handles this better than most, you're still the Dragonborn, you have to kill Alduin, and nothing will change that. In Bubsy 3D, you're Bubsy, and nothing will sadly change that. The point is, no matter how many aspects of roleplaying they throw at you, it always feels like cheap roleplaying or at the very least limited. Dark Souls on the other hand says, okay, you want to be a good guy? Go ahead. Okay, you want to be an asshole? Well, go ahead. You want to be a true monster? Don't do that. Granted, you're forced to fight Gwyn at some point and rekindle the flame. But this is by no means exclusive to you. There are many people you meet along your journey who aim for the same goal, which drives home the feeling that you're not special or a part of some great prophecy. You have to put in the work. This amount of free will also means NPCs can be killed at will if you truly despise them. It won't give you a mission failed or a you lost karma. They're dead. Do you feel guilty? Do you have no regrets? It's all on you. The game isn't going to tell you if you should feel bad. Hearing an NPC's final words and knowing the fact they'll never respawn can make you feel guilty a majority of the time. People sharing their builds is also a huge thing in the Souls community due to just how many options you have to customize every facet of your character. I mean, goddamn, there's a whole subreddit simply dedicated for the fashion.
Cause as we all know, you have to be looking your best while slaying the undead.
This amount of freedom is unheard of. You're able to make any character you want. You don't even have to make your own character. Feel free to cosplay as some of the beloved favorites if that's what you want to do. It's also intentional how Dark Souls games never really have a protagonist. A few things I've said could apply to Skyrim, but they have the same iconic Dovahkiin design plastered everywhere. With Dark Souls, I mean sure, you got the classic knight, but it feels like they haven't really marketed a main character design anywhere, which leaves room for you to create your own. My favorite way to play these games is easily a strength build. Playing the role of a guy who wields a weapon taller than himself is nothing short of badass. I don't really like killing NPCs though. I prefer to stay chill and just mind my own business, with a few exceptions. And at the end of my journey, it has all led up to the biggest choice you'll make that defines your character. Do you rekindle the bonfire, or begin the Age of Darkness? It's a moral question that doesn't necessarily have any right or wrong answer, though we all have our own opinions. This one's a good end. But it's an amazing way to wrap up the game, allowing you a way to conclude your character's role in this world and truly cement their morals. Optional endings aren't anything new, but in Dark Souls, I feel they're crucial for the sense of role-playing. Maybe you disagree with how good the roleplay aspect is and feel other games adequately do this. The roleplay in an RPG doesn't exactly have to mean your own character. Right now, I'm playing through Sekiro, and even though that game offers very little customization if any, I still feel like an incredibly skilled shinobi running through feudal Japan. You can play the role of a more created character and step into their shoes, but from my point of view, you'll never get the full immersive experience anywhere else than in Dark Souls. Perhaps the only game to match this will be Elden Ring. If it even exists! I mean, what the fuck? Maybe you disagree with the exact points I've made in this video, but at least most of us who weren't too scared to finish up the game can say that Dark Souls is amazing. And it started a literal shift in the gaming industry. Miyazaki has changed the industry for the better, inspiring developers to strive for making games that are just as godly as this trilogy. Even after playing all 3 games in the trilogy, the very first one is still fresh in my mind. The boss designs, the music, the gameplay, it's all so memorable and will stick with you for a really long time, perhaps even forever. If you can manage to overcome the difficulty, you'll find yourself leaving satisfied more so than any other game you've played before. Of course, once you do, you've officially ruined your taste in games forever, and everything that wasn't created by this man is inferior.